So I'm gonna show you guys an eyeshadow look today using these 4 shades right here. So these are 4 very universal shades. I pretty much recommend them to everybody when they are first getting started because of how versatile they are and because they make pretty much every single eye color really stand out. So we've got Trust, Drift, Bright Eyes, and Bubba. And then this right here is a brush cleaning tile. Now, Bright Eyes is one of my all-time favorites. It's kind of a ride or die color for me. And like I said, this is a color that pretty makes every eye color just pop. I'm gonna show you what that one looks like right here. So this right here is Bright Eyes. Now it is a shimmer, and there are some people that get a little bit nervous when it comes to using shimmers. So there are a couple of alternatives you can use if you're just not sold on Bright Eyes, but you should be because it's a great color. So if you still want a little bit of a shimmer, but you don't want it quite as bold as this, there's one that's called FOXY, and that is this shade right here. So you can see that it still has a little bit of shimmer, but it's not quite as bold as Bright Eyes. And then if you are somebody who just does not want a shimmer of any kind, this is usually more common for people with more mature skin, and they usually like to have a bit more of a matte shade. Then another great one you could do is this one right here. This one is called Stay Golden. It is a matte shade and it also is a great color. Another one you could try is one called Chai. Both of those would be great ones to replace Bright Eyes if this is just not a color that you are loving. So I'm gonna show you how I use these 4 shades most commonly, and I usually use them together, but I will also kind of talk about some alternative ways of being able to pair these colors as 2s and also being able to wear them as single shades. That's one of the things I really love about this palette is that, like I said, there is a lot of versatility. They also are ones that pair really well with a lot of the other shades. And so again, these are just kind of some really good staples to have in your palette as you're kind of building it up. So all 3 of these lighter colors could definitely be worn as an individual shade. In fact, I have a tutorial which I can link where I just wear Bright Eyes and I show you how easy it is to wear it as just a single shade, and it's absolutely stunning. But you could also do the same with a color like Drift if you wanted just a really light, bright, simple eye. Bubba is also a great one, and because it's a matte, you can go on a little bit darker in areas and then soften it up in other areas to give you even a bit of an ombre look just using a single color. So these are 3 great shades because, again, they can be used individually. And then Trust is a great one because you can use it as an eyeliner. I like to have a little bit of a softer, smokier eyeliner, and so that's what I like to use Trust for. You can also add a little bit more depth to the outer corner of your eye to give a little bit more of a smoky effect if you need a shade for like a night out or something like that. And then I actually use Trust to fill in my brows, and this is a shade that will work for most people when it comes to filling in the brows, and so there's a lot of versatility with this shade as well. So let's dive into the tutorial now. So I usually like to prep my eyes with some sort of a primer, usually just because it's the most convenient thing to do. I will just take one of my highlight shades, I'll put that all over my lid and then just set it with the Vanilla Dust setting powder. And using the fluffy end of the eyeshadow brush, I am just placing Bubba in the crease using a windshield wiper motion until it's evenly distributed. Bubba is one of my favorite transition shades, and it's one that I always recommend for people to have in their palette because, again, it's a great one for putting in the crease, and then you can pair it with a whole lot of other shades. Even just based on what I've done right here, if I wanted to, I could pull Bubba a little bit further down onto my lid just using a lighter hand, so it was a little bit of a softer shade of Bubba. So that way, like I said, it kind of starts dark and then lightens up, and use that as my all over look. Another thing that I could do is I could take the lighter shade here called Drift, and I could just put that on the lid and then have that be the finished look. Instead, what I'm going to do though is I'm going to take just my finger and I've put the shade Bright Eyes on it, and I'm just gonna put this shade on my lid instead. Now, a little trick to make your eyes look bigger is you can pull a little bit of your eyeshadow underneath your lower lash line. So I'm taking the same brush that I had before. This is the eyeshadow brush. I'm flipping it over to the smaller end, and I'm just gonna take some of that Bright Eyes and I'm just gonna run it along my lower lash line. So you can see the difference between these 2 eyes, and by having that extra eyeshadow underneath here just opens up this eye so much more. And what I've done right here with Bright Eyes is what you could do with one of these other 2 shades that I mentioned if you wanted a lighter shimmer and went with Foxy, or if you wanted a matte shade and went with Stay Golden. You could place them in the same place that I have just put Bright Eyes. Now again, we could stop right here and have this be the finished look and just add some mascara, but we're gonna keep going. And I'm gonna switch brushes right now. I'm gonna use this brush. This is the line brush. It's the same one that I used to fill in my brows using Trust. I'm gonna use this to do some eyeliner using Trust along my lash line. So I'm just gonna place this on the outer half of my eye. So I'm gonna start about halfway over, and I'm just gonna start to gently place this color right along the lash line, just kind of hug right up against that and work my way outward. And then I usually like to do the exact same thing just on the lower half of my lower lash line. So as you can see, Trust adds just a little bit more definition to the outer edge of this eye, but it's a little bit more of a softer look, a little bit more smudged because it's an eyeshadow as opposed to an eyeliner. Now, if you are somebody who likes a little bit more of a precise line, you could take the same brush and you could spray a little bit of setting spray on the end of it and then dip it into the eyeshadow, and that would help to make it a little bit more precise. Now, this is usually where I stop with Trust, but I do want to show you that you can use it to kind of smoke out the outer eye a little bit. And so I'm taking the small end of the eyeshadow brush. I've got some Trust on there, and then you can just place this on the very outer edge. You can kind of just put that right there. You can even go a little bit into the crease if you want, and you can just smoke out this eye a little bit, flip it over with the fluffier end, and then just kind of blend it out, just to give you even more depth and again, a little bit more of a smoky eye using Trust on that outer corner. So now you can see the difference between these two eyes where I've got some Trust on that outer corner. I'm kind of smoked it out a little bit, whereas this one, I haven't put any of that Trust in. So again, it shows you there's a lot of versatility when it comes to these shades and being able to create some different looks. Okay, and now as like the final step of this eyeshadow look, I'm gonna take the fluffy end of this eyeshadow brush and I'm just gonna place this color Drift right here, right underneath the arched part of my eyebrow, and just place it along the brow bone just to add a little bit of lightness and brightness there. And then I'm gonna flip that same brush over to the smaller end. I'm gonna put that same color Drift just right here in the very inner corner. Now, as you can see the difference between these two eyes, by adding that little pop of shimmery brightness to those two key places actually kind of opens up my eyes a little bit more, and that's another trick for making your eyes look a little bit bigger. So this right here is the finished look. So if you are lost on where to get started when it comes to eyeshadows, to me, these are the perfect shades to get started with. So I'm gonna go ahead, I will link up the exact eyeshadow palette that I used along with the different tools that I used for the application. Now, something that I didn't mention at the beginning of this video, but I think is really important to point out, is that all of Seint's eyeshadows come in these individual tins that magnetize to the compact, which means you can completely customize your eyeshadow palette. So these are four of the shades that I typically recommend getting started with, but again, you can add or subtract to this eyeshadow palette with whatever colors you want. And it's really nice because if you have a color that runs out, all you have to do is pop out that individual tint and replace it, and you can leave the other shades alone that still have enough product left. So again, I'm gonna link up all of the products that I used in today's tutorial. I'm also gonna leave a link for getting color matched. If you are interested in the other products that I use, this is a completely customized foundation line, and I can help you pick out what shades are best for your skin tone and everything that you need to get started with that. And then this company also has a thing called the Artist Program. It's an opportunity for women to be able to make some additional income by sharing and selling this makeup with family and friends. And so I'm gonna leave some information about the Artist Program if that is something that you would be interested in learning a little bit more about. And then if you decide that it would be a good fit for you and you'd be able to like to have an additional stream of income by sharing about these products as well, then I would love nothing more than to mentor you here in Seint and have you as a part of my team.